Hi, this is Mashnu, and I would like to tell you that yesterday evening we played at the chess club the knockout tournament. That is a tournament that we play every year on the last evening of the season, and it's a blitz tournament with a knockout system. So if you lose a game, you cannot win the tournament anymore. And well, this time it went actually very well for me. I reached the finals, but in the final game, unfortunately, I lost. So I ended on the second place. But I did win a prize, and that is this book that I have here. It's called Leko's 100 Wins, written by Sergei Solovyov. And this morning I started reading in this book, and I found this game that reaches this position that you see here on the screen after move 22 of black. And it's white to move now. Peter Leko playing white against Dimitri Bunzmann. The game was played in Germany, in Hamburg, in 1999. And well, perhaps you would like to have a look for yourself at this position, try to find a good continuation for white. There are several good moves, but perhaps you just find it an interesting exercise to just have a good look at this position. So I'll continue the explanation and showing you the rest of the game in a few seconds, right? Okay, so what happened here is that Peter Leko showed here how good he is actually in positional sacrifices, and that's a theme, positional sacrifices, that I find very interesting, because I often find it quite mysterious. Like many other players, I'm used to think in terms of not losing material, but sometimes the gaining of positional advantage is more worth than material, and that's what happened in this game. Here Peter Leko played the move d5, d4 to d5, so he sacrifices this pawn. Now let me go back, because you perhaps have been thinking for some time about this position, and perhaps you were thinking about the defense of this these threats here on this side. The move king to h1 would also be a good move, but that's more defensive move, and the move played by Peter Leko, d5, is more aggressive. The idea of this sacrifice is that this square d4 becomes available for white, so a move like knight to d4 is possible. Besides that, white is threatening to advance this pawn even further to d6, so that means that black cannot ignore this this pawn. He must take the pawn on d5. Now there are several ways to take it. Well, one very clearly wrong way to take it would be with the c pawn, because then the pawn on b5 falls. So after c takes d5, knight takes b5 with attack on the queen, and then white has absolutely lots of compensation for this breakthrough in the center, for this pawn. So this well, I don't think it's necessary to continue showing this variation, because this is simply clearly better for white. So I'll return here. Another way to capture this pawn on d5 would be with the e pawn. E takes d5, and then comes a very interesting new sacrifice, with the idea of breaking open the defense of the king. And this new sacrifice is knight takes b5. Very interesting move after c takes b5. Not bishop takes b5, but the move c6. c6 actually is white is sacrificing again a pawn, but this time this pawn may not be taken, because if black takes here with the bishop, bishop takes c6, then this bishop is pinned, and we have two ways of attacking it once more, with knight to d4 and with bishop takes b5. So this is going to be a disaster for black. After this move, black can defend c6 only one more time, and then bishop takes b5 is terrible for black. So let's return in this position, so after c6, beautiful move. Black should not take the pawn. He needs to go away with his bishop, but where to go? If he goes to a6 to defend b5, that's one option, but then the attack moves from the c file to the a file. So rook to a1, for example. Or another idea could be queen to a3, bring the queen to the a file. But let's have a look at this rook to a1. If now black takes here on c6, then the other rook goes to the c file, and as you can see, the pressure against the position of the black king is being increased and increased more and more, and black can only try to defend. Now also, after the queen moves, now the knight on f4 can fall. Actually, this could have happened right now, doesn't it? Queen takes f4, yeah, it's possible also here. Instead of rook to c1, queen takes f4 is also possible with check. So, well, in any way, the attack of white is strong. So what Leko's opponent did, I'm sorry, I'm a bit tired, then Dutch words come in. What Leko's opponent did was to take this pawn with the knight. So knight takes d5. Leko took the knight, and then rook takes, and then rook takes again, and now black must take either with the e pawn or with the c pawn. Now we saw that taking with the c pawn would make this pawn on b5 too weak, so e takes d5 was played. So we can now evaluate what is the result of this pawn sacrifice. Well, we see this open e file, we see an open a file, and we see the possibility for the white knight to enter into black's position. Let's take a look at the black pieces. This bishop is very passive, and this bishop is very passive as well. The queen and the rook are disconnected. So this means that it's quite difficult for black to get some counterplay. Here white continued with rook to e1, threatening to take the bishop on e7. The bishop went to d8, and now white continued activating these pieces, placing the pieces on more active squares with the bishop to h3, because now that this pawn structure has been fixed here, there is no reason to stay with this bishop on f1 attacking b5, because b5 is not going to fall now. Here black sacrificed the pawn himself by playing f5 with the idea of giving this bishop on d8 more freedom, eventually supporting this h4 advance. Now white took on f5, and black played the move rook to g8, covering the back rank, preventing eventually queen to e8. But the queen of white entered now on the other side with queen to h6. As you can see, black has here also some weaknesses. The game continued here with bishop to e7, knight to e5, bishop to g5. So it looks as if this was a loss of a tempo for black, playing bishop to e7, but the thing is that the square g5 is not available right now for the bishop, so you cannot play bishop to g5 at once. And with bishop to e7, he eventually prepares perhaps bishop to f8, or perhaps no, there is no other clear plan I find here. I was thinking perhaps it could be an idea to place the rook behind this pawn to try to advance here, but I'm not sure if that's going to lead to anything. Let's continue with the game. Knight to e5, bishop to g5, attacking the queen. Now the queen takes on h5. The bishop now goes to d2. So it looks as if finally black has some counter threats attacking the rook and the pawn on b4. But now these two pieces of white are working together very well. The following move is a very nice one. It's a check on d7. Now this check is not only meant to attack the black king, but actually to interrupt the defense of the f7 pawn. So after king to a7, Peter Leko played rook to a1 check. After the bishop went to a6, he took the pawn on f7. And in this position black resigned. It's actually, his whole position is collapsing completely. We have these three passed pawns on this side of the board, the bishop that is pinned on a6, and there is still no coordination of the black pieces. So Mr. Dimitri Bunzmann decided not to suffer any longer, and he resigned here. Now let's return to the initial position, because this is actually what I find so instructive, is to try in our own games to think in these terms of what squares I would like to have available for my pieces. Now this knight on f3 looks a bit passive. If it could go to d4, we could attack here. If the e-file would be open, then we could perhaps attack on this side. So those are ways to investigate this move d5. Also we can say that this pawn looks like a backward pawn. It looks like this perhaps in the future can become a possible target for black. So that's also an idea what happens if we advance it and sacrifice it. Well, I hope you found this example instructive. I still find this, I'm thinking actually about perhaps making a series of videos about positional sacrifices. I think I would learn a lot myself by doing this, so I'll see if I can find more interesting examples of positional sacrifices. Alright, I'll just say goodbye now. You can click on the like button and have a nice day. And well, I hope you have enjoyed it, and I'll see you next time. Goodbye.